start turning his skin green and then make him a
Maybe.
little bit bigger.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
that's the wrong. That's
Sure.
Marvel. I
Wrong
forgot. Sorry.
universe. Um,
Hey everyone, my name's Nick.
and I'm Ray. And today we're going to be talking about the 5 things we liked from Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power. If you haven't seen what we dislike, check out our channel. We have reviews of every episode and 5 things we disliked about the series as a whole. For this episode, we're going to be talking about the 5 things we liked, and we were initially going to do 10 things we liked, but we realized that was too daunting of a task for this series.
Yes.
So we pared it down to 5, and
hmm
honestly, the first two, probably 80% good, right? On a
hmm
scale of like 1 to 10, it's an 8.
Yeah.
The other three are closer to that 5, getting into the bad territory, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
So, with that, let's start off with the one thing that only had one issue in the show. There was only one issue
hmm
of it, in my opinion, and that is the VFX. Amazon did really well. Their VFX artists specifically did very
hmm
well in creating the world. It was beautiful, amazing. It looked pretty real. There was just that one instance where the warg looked
Yes.
goofy as shit.
Yeah. I totally agree. The warg looks absolutely awful.
But for the most part, this is where Amazon, I guess, spent most of its budget. I guess they had 20,000 VFX artists or something
No.
do this project, and it shows. I mean, it
Yeah.
is one of the best looking worlds I think that has been crafted, honestly.
Yes. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. So credit to where credit's due.
hmm
VFX team did amazing. And there's going to be a theme with these likes. You're going to notice that it is the people behind the scenes that kicked ass, not so much the writing and directing room that did. As for number 2, we are going to do 2 standout performances. Both Nick and I agree that
hmm
Duran's actor and his dialogue, for the most part, crushed it.
The actor that plays Durin, and maybe, hey, let me go out on a limb and give the team, the leadership team, the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the director just was having such good days whenever he was doing all the Durin scenes and
Yeah.
just gave him the perfect cues, was looking for the perfect moments. The writers, and to be fair, I think the writers did a good job with this storyline. Elrond did a good job supporting Durin, and Durin absolutely killed all of the emotional and just emotion filled scenes that he was in.
Yeah, so the actor for Durin, Prince Durin the Fourth specifically, we're not talking about
Okay,
King Durin, we're
yeah.
talking about Prince Durin.
Yes.
Um, Owain Arthur, he's Irish, so it's either
Okay.
Owen or Owain, probably Owen. Yeah, he crushed it. Simple as
Yeah.
that. And and we've talked about it before.
Mhm.
Elrond and Durin's storyline just is the best in my opinion. It
Yeah.
may not have the most impact on the plot, but it's the story with the most depth,
Yes.
and character development, especially between the two. The banter between the two feels real.
I never really got like the same feeling from Elrond, right? I never felt that he was as caring and as invested in the relationship as Durin was. So that's why, for me, the pick is on a standout performance for Durin and for his actor, not for the pair, that duo. While they did do a good job together, I think it was like 70-30 Durin to Elrond.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Durin, that actor, I mean, he was the comic relief playing
hmm
against Elrond's straight man, right?
hmm
And I think Elrond served his purpose, but
Yeah.
as actors go, I think Durin just nails that dwarf
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Prince Durin the Fourth, the actor Owen Arthur or Owain, definitely is the standout performer of season 1, I think, and Nick thinks too.
Yep.
However, there is one more that I would like to draw attention to. Adar. Adar was given not the most amount of screen time. However, that actor, I think, did really, really well in the scenes where he was given dialogue, and it made his character feel a lot more morally gray than
Yeah.
just straight evil, People, he's like, essentially, fuck Sauron. Like, that dude makes me kill all my children. I don't like
hmm
that,
Yeah.
so this area is ours, right? And the way he was speaking with Galadriel and whatnot, the actor really sold those lines he had And if he could have said, oh, and that dude asked him, hey, what do we call the Southlands now? And it melted away to Mordor. Even if he had said Mordor there, it probably would have sounded pretty good. That actor is good. He did really well with not a lot of screen time or dialogue and made you feel empathetic a little bit
Yeah.
towards orcs, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this case, I do want to kind of give a small shout out to the writers that were involved in this, because again, he did have a short screen time, and while it was, look, he did a fantastic job as Adar, as the character, especially in the earlier episodes when that character was still being built, because it kind of petered off at the end there whenever he just kind of went away after
Yeah.
episode 6. Still, they did a pretty good job at building, like you said, a morally gray antagonist.
Yeah.
So
And
I give him props for that.
you got Uncle Benjamin playing it. Like,
Hmm.
it's just solid. Um, so we just wanted to give a shout out to those big two, and that's our number 2. Now for number 3, our big number 3, like this is where it starts to get a little bit more. There are the consistency issues, let's call it.
Hmm.
Cinematography.
Hmm.
The cinematography as a whole across most of the season was pretty well shot. The most egregious offenders, in my opinion, and we've talked about it before, is this use of slow motion, the overuse of slow motion, and not understanding how to make something impactful.
Yeah. And on the dislike video, we separated the use of slow-mo from the cinematography as a whole. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to give credit to the cinematography as a whole and separate out the slow-mo that was just, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 scenes, was just terrible. Terrible uses.
It's like they were so close to being consistent. It's just those scenes really
Hmm.
took away from the overall story, I thought,
Yep.
and character development. But aside from that, most of the cinematography was pretty good. Now, for big numero 4, costumes, right? So here's the only other thing that people behind the scenes did really well. When you look at a TV show, when you look at a movie, you look at the actors and you just hear the dialogue, and you don't think about the people that edit things, that write them, or that make the props, make the costumes, make the sets, the choreographers, right? All the little things. And for the most part, Rings of Power had a lot of good behind the scenes people. Its big faults were its writers and directors, I think.
Hmm.
But most of everything else behind the scenes was pretty good. And
Yeah.
that goes for costume designs too. The biggest plus, and this is the reason I like it, is orcs are makeup again. They're not
Yeah.
CGI. And that's the biggest win for me in anything ever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do want to say, in a much earlier video, whenever Rings of Power hadn't even come out yet, I had bashed how the dwarves looked, because they kind of had like the goofy look of dwarves that we got in The Hobbit. To me, The Hobbit still, it just looks a little too goofy. After watching the whole season 1, I didn't get that feeling. I think that they looked pretty good. Now, I will say I absolutely hate the dwarf helmet armor. I think it is so ridiculous, but
A
it is
little over
pretty
the top.
it is pretty funny, but man, it's so ridiculous. I would have liked to see like just a little bucket helmet with some ram's horns coming out, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. They got
I
the
also
helmet from
had
like World of Warcraft blacksmithing.
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't like, I had kind of an issue with, not an issue. I wasn't feeling the elf armor as well, with like this high turtleneck. I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't think it looked as,
The one Galadriel wore?
yeah, and I think I saw a couple of them wearing it. It wasn't just her, right?
Are you talking about the cold scenes or prior or after?
I think after.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think it was after that. I'll find a shot to put in there so
Yeah.
everyone can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, that high turtleneck armor, while probably advantageous in battle, right? Not as many neck wounds, maybe. I just
That's
didn't
a
think
plus.
it aesthetically didn't look as good to me.
Yeah.
But that's
That's a
a
nitpick.
little a nitpicky gripe from me.
Yeah.
Same with that dwarf helmet.
Yeah. Overall, I think the costumes for, say, the Numenorians,
Hmm.
right, their city guard, if you will, you see, kind of mirrors what Gondor becomes for their
Right.
armor, so that's cool to see. Um, and then like their sailor uniform, if you will. I mean, pretty sure Numenor is supposed to hearken to the Greeks, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's referred to as Atalante at some point, Numenor.
Hmm.
Atlantis, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
Uh, and they hit the Greek vibe pretty well.
Yeah.
I really liked those. And then across the board, the costumes were just pretty good. Nothing looked like you went to a spirit, Halloween store and bought a Aragorn costume.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. And I thought the
And
orcs looked really good too. So,
yeah, I was gonna come back to that. The orcs did look really good. I'm glad they didn't try to like overly CGI anything. I
mm,
I can't I can't think of anything specifically that looked overly CGI.
the
Um,
warg.
the warg looks awful.
Yeah.
But the like even the what is it, a frost troll or a mountain troll in the beginning? The
Yeah.
troll itself looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It had these big nasty looking tusks. It was,
The big
you know,
sea
the
snake.
yeah, the big sea snake was awesome. So there was I mean, but that's more VFX kind
Yeah.
of stuff, right?
That's more
Um
VFX.
but talking about how they used costumes and good design rather than too much CGI. So they did use CGI when it looked good,
hmm
but they didn't try to overuse it, and I'm really happy for that.
Yeah, I would definitely say they saved CGI for when it was needed. I mean, it's hard to
Hmm.
costume up a snake, giant snake.
Yeah.
Um, but, but yeah, no, overall, I think the costume department killed it.
Yes.
And our final this is about a 51% introverted, right? 49% extroverted level test, right? So 51% we liked it, 49% we didn't. Um, the acting overall. Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me for a sec while I defend this point. So, the dialogue they were given is hard to make sound good.
Hmm.
You know, I am good. For example, with hearts even bigger than our feet. For example, right? Insert any other dialogue from the show. For the most part, it is fucking a dog turd, bro. It's a dog turd.
Hmm.
With that, most of the performances weren't atrocious, which indicates that the actors weren't bad. In context, they weren't bad. There were a few really good actors. I thought Elendil, for the most part, did well, except for his cry. My
I
man's got to work on his cry.
Yeah, I agree. And
It's,
man, I really, you're right that that's definitely his fault for doing such an awful cry.
but also the
But
director said, walk off slowly
yeah,
and go like, eh.
yeah. Hey, turn around and give me a little angry cry shot, okay? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and be
that's
silent for
obviously
15 seconds. Ignore everything.
yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah, that was obviously terrible directing in that case, but there is some back to him. But overall, like you said, I really enjoyed Elendil. I think he was a good character. They got a great actor to fill that role that looked good. He looked right for that
Mm-hmm.
role.
And that's the big thing. Disa, I mean, everyone was throwing big hissy fits about Disa. I remember before the show came out.
Yeah.
I thought she did fine.
Yeah.
She was a fine actor.
I had no issues with her acting or her or even any of the scenes that she was in. I had no issues with it whatsoever.
And that harkens to the strength of the dialogue that was
Hmm.
written for them. Whereas you have people like discount Aragorn, right? The Kirkland brand Aragorn, right? Halbrand.
Yeah.
Ugh. He for the most part is a fine actor, I think, but he didn't really pull off the scary Sauron at times. Like when he's like, "Don't push me again. You won't like it when I'm
Yeah.
angry." Essentially, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, that's actually Sauron, right? We now know it's verified, actually Sauron. You think there would be more of a menacing fucking thing in there instead of just? I know he was like trying to hide, but you're still Sauron, bud. Like
Yeah.
that's gonna bleed through."
Yeah, that whole scene was weird, and it didn't look right. It didn't feel he didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
tough.
And a big part of
So,
that is on the directors, right? If I
sure.
had shot that scene, I may have given him like when he gets backed in and starts to say something, maybe do some modulation to his voice, add like a darkening effect to show shit
Like
like
start turning his skin green and then make him a
maybe
little bit bigger.
yeah, that
Oh,
one.
that's the wrong. That's
Sure.
Marvel. I
Wrong
forgot. Sorry.
universe. But for the most part, the acting was acceptable.
Yeah.
And for the dialogue that was given and the story that was given, I count that as a win. And like I said, I think most of the cast did really pretty good.
Yep.
Aaron, dear Theo, yeah, right. His mom, decent.
Yeah.
Gandalf,
Yeah. For I mean, he was a mute character
he had to sell that with body acting. I mean,
for 7 episodes. He was mute and
they should have gave it to Nicolas Cage. He would have killed that role.
perfect, dude.
Uh,
Look, they should have hired you.
I know, dude. But but yeah, this is probably the controversial like if there is one on this. Let us know what you think, right? Give us your reason why the acting is bad considering they were given dialogue such as I am good. Tell
Yeah.
me who can make I am good sound good.
For me, I haven't seen most of them in other works, so I can't really attest to how they do overall.
Hmm.
I attest most like 90% of the bad scenes with them. I attest it to poor writing and poor directing. So I don't really put much of this failure in the actor's hands.
Yeah, there's really not much more to say. I mean, the big thing that killed the show is the writing. It's the story. It's the waste of a budget. I mean, shit, dude, they had so much money. They could have had fucking Patrick Stewart. They could have had fucking Morgan Freeman. I would have loved to see Morgan Freeman be Theo. That would have been funny.
Theo.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Okay.
but or Adar, he could be Adar.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Give us your comments below on what you liked about the series, and if you disagree with our likes. And make sure to check out our dislike videos if you agree or disagree with that as well. With that, Ray out.
Thanks for watching. Hey, Nick here. If you enjoyed this video, please gently caress that like button for us.
And Ray, thanks for watching. It was a blast. Make sure to hit that subscribe if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing, what me and him are doing. There. Me and him, Nick and Ray. Subscribe.